When we started developing the mission, we knew we wanted to make it more than just about answering trivia questions. So we added what we call the challenge category. After playing around with the idea of what we would make the challenge categories, we decided we'd have the players act, draw, describe, and share to give players a time to interact more than just answering trivia questions. Now the board has 8 challenge squares with 2 of each category. When players land on the 8 challenge squares, they will draw a challenge card. Players will have 30 seconds to successfully complete the challenge of the specific challenge square they landed on. If one of the other players guesses the challenge being performed, then the player performing the challenge will receive 1 small group, $1,000 if players have completed all 3 churches, or 1 missionary if they have completed all 3 churches and have accumulated enough mission points. Now the first category under the challenge is the act category. Players who land on the act square will have to act the scene listed on the challenge card to all the other players. Now the rest of the players are supposed to act out the scene using words and motions. However, players cannot use any words listed in the scene's description, and all the other players will participate in guessing the scene. The second category under the challenge is the describe category. Players who land on a describe square will have to describe the word or words on the challenge card to all the other players. Players may not describe the word by using any derivative coming from the word. An example is the word faithfulness. Players cannot say the word faith when describing faithfulness, and all the other players will try and guess the word that is being described. The third category under the challenge is the draw category. Players who land on a draw square will have to draw a word or scene from the challenge card. Players who land on the draw square are not allowed to speak, write numbers, or write speak words, and all the other players playing the game will participate in guessing what the player is trying to draw. The act, describe, and draw challenges will bring another element to the game we believe players will greatly enjoy. And there are 3 simple rules that players need to remember while trying to complete these 3 challenges. 1. A player who successfully completes a challenge receives either a small group, $1,000, or a missionary. 2. The first player to guess the act, draw, or describe challenge correctly receives $500. 3. If none of the players guess the challenge being performed, no one receives anything and play goes to the next player in turn. The fourth and final category under the challenge is the share category. We created the share challenge so players would have a time to connect spiritually with one another. Players who land on the share category share their thoughts from the challenge card. Players who land on the share square simply have to read out loud the share challenge listed on the challenge card and answer the question out loud. This is a great time to connect spiritually with one another, and there is not a right or wrong answer under the share category. As long as the player who draws the share card is willing to share his thoughts with the other players, he receives either a small group, $1,000, or a missionary. The share category is the only challenge where the 30-second sand timer does not apply.